Guys, the Decathlon EST900 is an amazing electric bike that I own for a couple of weeks now. And I made a few changes to it to make it even more fun and ergonomic to ride, starting with the chainring itself. So this is the original chainring that was on it, but it is way too small. I found that most of the time that I'm cycling with this, I'm always at the max gear, which means we're limiting ourselves and pedaling just much more than is needed. So I was looking around online, looking for 3D models that serve something like this. Basically a whole pack of BCD 104 that I could 3D print some chain rings, just so I could estimate which is the max size I could actually fit on the bike, because obviously we're limited by the space we have here. It's pointless me getting one chain ring and then it doesn't fit and then get another one, return back and forth. It's just kind of wasteful. So I thought I would look online, but I couldn't find anything like this. So I actually designed and modeled all these chain rings, and they are in increments of 2. So starting from 32 teeth all the way to 60 teeth. So 60 teeth I found online that is like one of the biggest ones used, and that would be for triathlons and stuff like that. I most likely won't use a 62 chainring, but it doesn't hurt to actually have it in the actual file set, you know, as a massive collection. So you can see this one here, these are all narrow, which is around 2.5 millimeters in thickness in total, I believe. And then I also designed narrow and wide, which is around, I think, 3.5 millimeters up to 3.9 millimeters. So the original one that was used was a narrow and wide one, and narrow and wide ones just makes sure that the chain doesn't slip as much. So it is much more useful to print the narrow and wide one. However, if you do print the narrow and wide one, you have to slice it in half and then super glue it together. Unless you've got a dual printhead printer, which means you could use a support at 0 contact distance, so you could mix PLA and PETG to have supports basically touching each other, and then you could attach it and then it would come out as one piece, no problem. But bear in mind, these are 3D printed plastic, so they aren't exactly meant for long-term use. I mean, I'm pretty sure this would get worn down very quickly and will just not really survive the actual trail. But you can use the STL models for CNC cutting, I believe, so it serves 2 purposes, I think. And I also include this little stand which has a pretty loose tolerance, so you can remove them easily, which is very convenient for storing all of them. I really like this. So if you take some off, you can see they come off very easily, and they also come with the measurements engraved, so that makes it very user-friendly to track. So this is clearly 48 teeth, so we don't have to count all them, and it also has the measurements for 104 BCD, so that is 104 millimeters, and this is the actual diameter of the whole chain ring. So it says 192.7 millimeters, so from one side to the other, the actual diameter, and that is the actual stand for all of them. So now that we've got the complete set of all the chain rings, so we can actually test which is the max size teeth that we can actually use as a chain ring without it interfering with anything. So you can see we actually already got one here that's kind of not doing anything because it was just a prototype as well. But originally we had this chainring, as I mentioned, and the only way to actually remove it would be to either remove the pedals along with the crank itself, but I didn't want to do that because we've got a motor in there. So what I did instead was, first of all, I unscrewed the nuts and bolts, then I actually grinded it off because I knew I wasn't going to need this because the larger one would bypass these sides, no problem. You can see that the pedal is loose and so is the crank. We actually had this little guard that prevent the chain from slipping, which was screwed in here. Basically just unscrew it with an Allen key, and then I had these nuts and bolts, I don't know the exact name for them, which was a bit of a nightmare to remove. So they were in here and this was on the other side. What's difficult about this is that it goes behind here and it's quite hard to access. So we're not going to remove these, we're just going to basically shove them on like that and then rotate it. So clearly this has no problem, and this still has a bit of extra space, so we could go even higher. So that was 38 teeth. Let's try 40. 40 is still no problem, we've got plenty of room. 42 teeth, no problem. Can we go for a 44? So if we look at the one I bought, they are identical and they match perfectly. So we can actually put it on and we'll be able to secure it in place. So it will be basically, so you see, this is the exact problem that these chain rings will prevent you from having. So I bought a 44 gear chain ring, and that was before I had all these chain rings printed for actual testing. So if I had this before I actually bought this, I wouldn't have had this problem because 44 is very slightly touching this. So is not enough clearance to use this. So you see, with these prototype chain rings, we can actually know that we cannot actually use 44 because it will be a bit too close. So I think the max we could use is 42 really, without it actually interfering. So I think I know what I'm going to do in the meantime. I'm going to have it on the outside. It might have the chainring out of alignment, so I am going to fixate it on the outside. However, to do it properly and to remove the original chainring, I'll show you what I did. So imagine we had chainring on, and it was through here, and we had the nut on the back. The nut is it only has this little slot here, and it's like a flat head screwdriver slot, and the only way I was actually to be able to grip it from behind, actually I would rotate it first to find the biggest clearing slot, and it was clear at around here. So I could put my pliers, and I would rotate the nut behind until it kind of aligned, and I would grip it like that and then unscrew it. That was the only way I could actually unscrew this, because that was the only struggle that I had. But once I passed this and got it off, then it was no problem. Well, no, there was a problem actually getting the chainring off, because it's so tight I just couldn't pull it off. So I ended up grinding it like that, whilst being very careful to not damage anything else. So it looks like we'll need to use M10 bolts, and that will work no problem. But like I said, it's not going to be perfectly aligned anymore, is it? So if we look from the chainring, it's not center, but we don't know if it was going to fall or not. But let's know to test and try until we get the new chainring in. And now it's spewing freely. So we are ready for the chain. Now that we have extra teeth, we need to compensate that for the chainring, because now it's going to be way too tight. So if we try to put it on, it's just going to be crazy tight, because we have 10 extra chainrings. Remember, the original chainring was only 34 teeth. And remember, since it's narrow wide, it only goes in one way, like that. But that is just way too tight, because considering if we want to put it up the low rings here, it will not have space. We are on the smallest chain ring here. We're not even aligned yet. So if we want to reach the lowest of the low gears, we really need to add more chain links. So I actually did count how many chain links we originally get with this bike, and it's 114. And if we want to increase it to 10 more teeth, we need to add 10 more, so it will have 118 links in total. So I did buy 2 for 10-speed gears, and I bought 2 of them, so we can actually have the exact same one. I've got the chain link tool here, so we can actually get right into it. And I'm just going to actually remove the chain first. And remember, we are going to add 10 more links. So let's pop one out. There we go, got it. That took a while, but we got there in the end. Okay, I do have a backup one. I'm not sure how this one will do. Might be better, might be not, but we have to try it. What did I hear? Was that good or bad? Yes, okay, good, we have progress. Detach, make sure we don't lose any parts. Okay, so we can have a real proper test now. Let's just fit in the back. Actually, I don't need to fit in the battery just yet. Let's just see if it moves. Yeah, as I thought, the alignment is not very good on the low gears. However, on the high gears it's fine, but I will get the 42 teeth chain ring, and that should be much better for the alignment on the low gears. Okay, so that was a bit wild. I was actually just cycling and tested it on the higher speeds, but it just snapped off. I think I fitted one of the links poorly. Yeah, clearly this is snapped off, so I know why that happened, because I've done a poor job obviously. So let's try again. So you can see that chain link completely snapped. Well, it didn't snap, it just came undone. So I think using the link, reusing it is not a good idea. I think I should just use the one that it came with, the spare. Will that even fit? So that's what it looks like. And we're gonna have to clip it off apparently, once it's in all the way, because there's no resistance now. So this is probably gonna be much easier than the way I was going on about it. So we shove that in, and that's gonna be a lot of resistance now. Yeah, there's a lot of resistance. And now none, because it skipped. Okay, no resistance, no resistance, and a little bit of resistance now. Probably going through the other side now. And apparently we want to match the depth as the neighboring rivets. And now I feel that is good. Yeah, so it looks flush. A bit too flush actually. This side is too deep compared to that side, I think. So now we can apparently clip that off. How? I think, is it like that? Just snap it off. Apparently this snaps off easy. There we go. But this side is a bit out, so I'm gonna go back on the other side and push it back in until they're matching evenly on both sides. There. And now I'm going to give it another test drive. Hopefully the chain won't snap off, because that was a bit scary actually. Oh, and you serious? And I did it like an idiot. Fuck me. Oh, what an idiot. Oh my god, Tom. Alright, so guys, what I've learned is basically you shouldn't try to reuse these links that came with, because they're just too difficult. So it's best to buy and use the spares that it comes with. The ones that you break off, they are meant to be done by hand, and it just makes it so much easier. So yeah, I'm going to be using both of them. So I found the one that I originally replaced with the one that was originally in. So I removed that, and I'm going to replace it with the one that it was designed to be replaced with. Can give it another test ride quickly. Okay, well that took a while, but we got there in the end. We got the new chain ring on, so that's 10 extra teeth, and we got the new chain on as well. I didn't end up using the Decathlon chain because, well, I found it a nightmare to actually remove the chain link itself. But I think that was because I was using a shitty chain link tool. So once that broke, I realized I got another one, and that actually helped me out a lot. So the other chain ring tool is 10 times better. So maybe I could have used the Decathlon one, but it's better to not mix and match. It's better to just actually keep the same chain throughout. So I used the Shimano 10-speed chain twice, and my cat is just being sneaky. Normie, what do you want? After the chain, we increased the chain links to 10 more. So we got, I think in total, 124. I think I mentioned originally it came with 140 links. So let's move on from the chain. Now that we've got a good chain ring, we can remove the speed limits, but only do so if you're driving on private roads, on a mountain and stuff like that, because I think the legal road limit here is 25 kilometers per hour. So if you remove that limit and you're on the roads, you could get a fine, I believe. So don't do that if you're going to drive on the roads. But it's actually very, very simple to remove the limit on this bike. On this bike, we basically have a magnet here. You can see we've got it here. That is a magnet, and that magnet is sensed through this sensor. Now that sensor originally is on the other side. It was usually attached on the other side, which is here with an hex bolt, and you can remove that easily. First of all, there's a little rubber cover seal, and you can just remove it with a sharp knife. And once that is removed, then you can unscrew it with an Allen key. Once that's unscrewed, I get a bit of isopropyl alcohol to remove any excess dirt, and you can see I simply stuck the sensor on this metal part. But before I did that, obviously I cleaned it with isopropyl alcohol, both the metal part of the bike, the frame, and the backside of this sensor. And I use 3M acrylic foam tape to actually attach it together. And acrylic foam tape is like the best double-sided tape ever. It just won't come off. But I also secured it with some cable ties. And the way this is going to interact and how it's going to read the speed is by just inserting another magnet. So if we have a look here, we're going to move this down, the pedal. And what I've done is the same thing. Use 3M tape to apply a magnet here. And this is around, I think, 25 millimeters by 10 by 3. 25, 10, 3. And clearly, if we look at this magnet, it doesn't need to be that big. It can be smaller. And north or south poles do not matter. And again, 3M tape, as I mentioned, and then a cable tie. And that is just going to basically register a much lower rotation when you pedal. So this is going to basically read how many rotations you're doing pedaling. And obviously the big wheel spins much faster, so it would read much faster speeds. But this is going to read much slower speeds because this is going to rotate fewer times. So that's going to basically delimit your bike. It's not going to read the correct speed anymore on this, but you can just ignore that. Basically you can cycle much faster. But again, as I mentioned, do not do this if you're driving on the main road. Next thing I did to improve the ergonomics for me for this bike was actually reduce the handlebar size. Actually, originally this is around 72 centimeters wide, so it's very wide, and I like squeezing through tighter spaces, like if I'm in the mountains, in the woods, and the handle is like that wide. It's just going to be a bit of a hell to me. So what I did was I unscrewed the caps, and then you can reveal the handlebar grips here. You can reveal them here, and you can unscrew that and then get rid of the grips. And what I did was I basically just angle grinded the handlebars to around, I think, is it 52 centimeters in total now? So it's much slimmer, and I really like that. So to trim the handlebars, all I just use is an angle grinder and my face mask to make sure I don't get any aluminum in my face, and I just simply grinded it. Of course, I measured it first. What was it, around, I think 7 or 6 centimeters from each side, until it actually cuts off, and it just cuts off no problem. And I might get some caps just to prevent any damage from in case my bike drops or something. Then I also removed the original seat and I replaced it with my favorite one. It's not as slim, it's actually a bit bigger than usual, but I like my bum to be comfortable and I don't like something sharp on my butt. So yeah, this seat is much better, and it's actually light. I think it's around 500 grams lighter than the other one. A little bottle holder for some drinks, and I got this waterproof case. All of these things were like from AliExpress, and I got them like third of the price instead of Amazon. And as usual, you know, my phone cases are that I designed, they go here. So I bought another rockform mount because I prefer a metal one that's going to be attached to the main handlebar. But this part is 3D printed. I actually just transferred it from my old bike. So yeah, that is that, because I ain't gonna cycle with my phone in my hand all the time, and I've got a mirror here in case I want to film right ahead or use a torch from my phone. Yeah, it would be good if this battery had USB output, so I could actually have some light powered by the actual battery itself, because this is 500 watts, so this could power the light no problem. And of course I've got a little bag just to carry my emergency supplies. Got a little pump. I'm not sure how I'm gonna actually work with these tires, because these are tubeless, so I don't even know what's in them. Apparently some goo or something, so I'm gonna have to do a bit of digging into that to figure out what's with that. Also got a kickstand for it as well. That was like 4 quid on AliExpress, like 5 quid for the bike. This is like £2. It's mad. I love AliExpress. I'm just obsessed with it. So yeah, I'm gonna have some fun with this bike and really enjoy it, because this is a beast. So for those who watched it till the end, guys, thank you very much for watching. If you want these chainring set, that is going to be up on my Etsy. And yeah, this is going to be a lifesaver if you want to actually measure, and so you don't make mistake I did of buying the 44 teeth instead of 42 teeth chainring, and now I'm going to have to wait a week before the correct one arrives. But in the meantime, I'm going to test this one out, see how I feel about it. And it seems that if I go onto the highest gears, it does struggle a lot because of the misalignment, because we've got the chainring on the outer side instead of the inside, so that isn't going to work for very long. So I'm going to wait for the new chainring to arrive, and then I'm going to move on to that 42 teeth one. Not as high of a gear, but at least it's in the correct alignment. So just a few days ago, I literally got a second e-bike now, and the same issue applies really. So we've got a chainring which is actually just narrow, and I think this is 48 teeth, and that sounds like quite a lot, but the actual freewheel is only 14 to 28 teeth. So normally, oh my god, the actual freewheel, not cassette, has only 14 to 28 teeth ratio. That is a very small ratio actually. So again, we're on gear 7 like all the time. So what we can do is try all these different rings that we got here. So this is 48, so obviously I don't want 48. Let's find a match for it first. Where is it? So we've got 50, then 48. So let's just check if that matches, and if it does, then it's a 48, and it might be just under actually. I think that actually might be a 46 then, not 48. So let's go to say 50 and see how that looks, and if the chain is too tight or not. So yeah, that looks like it's 104 BCD, and we can actually, let's put it on front, and let's just see how tight the chain is with it on. So we got that. Actually, I might keep the freewheel and just upgrade the chainring itself. So this is a narrow and wide, so it would only fit in one way. Okay, you see I don't have this tightened, do I? So let's tighten it a little bit maybe, so it doesn't use, just for adjustment purposes, just to see what chain ring can I get, because I don't want to return it like the previous one, because I ordered it before I actually done prototype tests. But now I can actually do some real tests with the actual printed pieces and check what I want to use. So I think that was a 46 on it before, and I just put a 50 teeth one, so that's only 4 teeth increase. But let's see how that feels. Because actually it was rather loose, this. That feels pretty nice. Maybe at 52, I think 52, and we'll call it good, I think. And we also got some guards, and I think that will be too small, the guards. I think 52, and then we could leave the free wheel as it is. We've got a 52 teeth here. Let's try it out. Is it going to be too big? But you see what I mean? This is so great. I'm so happy that I got this, and I can actually get a vibe check before I actually buy it. Very happy with that. And I wasn't going to make a video, but I mean, this kind of shows my point, how useful this can be. Saves you from buying tons of different ones. So I could go even higher because we've got plenty of clearance here, but I want to check the tension of the chain, because I do not want to replace the chain, to be honest. But I want this tighter, so we can give this a spin. Actually, see how well it spins. And oop, let's see if it goes up to the high gears. My hands are a bit dirty now. There we go. Okay, it's not aligned because this needs to go behind, not in front. But my biggest concern is the tension. How do we feel about that? That feels great. Let's physically move it, even though the derailleur is not very aligned right now. I like that very much. Besides, I'm not going to use this much at all really. I'm going to use the low gears. So yeah, 52 it is. Oh, but again, like I said, this needs to be behind. Should we give it a test ride, see what happens with the plastic one? Let's see if I break it. That's quite funny. I can actually use the plastic printed chain rings. Oh, no, no. And I broke it. That's fair enough. I was expecting that, to be honest. So I'm gonna have to reprint that. But that was kind of for the point of the test. So yeah, no, you can't ride these because they will break. But we know which one we want to get. One very, very important thing that I need to mention, that if you do slice these narrow and wide models in half, so you could not use any supports, when you super glue them, be careful that you glue it in the correct orientation, that the narrow is against the narrow side, not narrow to wide. But this is exactly what I've done with this chain ring. So this is going to go to waste, to bin. But I wanted to show you guys to not make this mistake. So you see, this is narrow and on the other side is wide. So it's kind of pointless and this is not usable. So that's going to get thrown up at the bin. Make sure it is aligned correctly. So narrow to narrow, wide to wide. Yeah, that was a stupid mistake I made. So something for you to keep in mind, guys. And finally, we have the narrow to wide chain rings. So these are slightly thicker and more durable, and I actually redesigned the base so it's not as thin as the other one. This one I prefer. Now, since I printed this in two parts, I had to super glue them together. So this is two separate prints, super glued together. So the alignment has to be quite perfect when super gluing, and I use clamps. But the fit works very well still. That I'm very happy with. So I'm going to show you each one. It is a bit stiffer because obviously I printed it in two separate pieces. This is plastics that we're talking about. But here you go, you can see that they align very well. And that was the 60 teeth one. And I'm going to be just moving through them. So here is the whole set. Beautiful. Really like this little storage rack as well. Look how nicely that looks. Imagine that on the bike. That'd be hilarious actually.